welcome back to Extraordinary God, Ordinary People podcast. I have a special episode today with Bri. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So my husband was talking with you off camera, and I know you guys go golfing a lot. What is your favorite golf course here in Nashville? Or I'm going to rephrase that. Ever. What is your favorite golf course ever?
Oh, that's a good one. I got to play Pinehurst. I didn't play number 2, but I played Mid Pines for the Teen World Championship when I was in high school, and that was like the coolest place I've ever played. It was such a cool energy. There was so much history there, and so cool. It was a good time.
How long have you been playing golf?
I first picked up a club when I was 6.
Okay.
And just loved it. I kept going to the driving range. I was doing gymnastics at the time, and then I got scared of heights. And so I switched over to golf and just became obsessed with it. I was playing competitively since at like 9 on.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, it was a lot.
Was it something your parents did, or is it just something that you kind of just picked up?
No, my dad took me to the driving range the first time, but he wasn't really good, and my mom didn't play at all. My sister got into it with me. She was a few years older than me. And then we just became, like, this golf family.
That's awesome.
Which my parents were, like, not prepared for at all. Like,
they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they're like, so we get golf clubs, I guess? And then once we realized, like, my goal was to play in college, it was just, like, ball rolling. My parents are both very competitive, so they were just like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Did your sister play in college, too?
She did. She took a couple years off and then ended up playing at Georgia Southern her junior year.
That's awesome. Yeah. So just pretty much kind of just all, do you want your family to play golf at some point, or is that something you're like, nah?
I think if my family played golf for fun, it would be
okay.
Good. I don't know that I would raise kids into competitive golf. It's just pretty intense.
Okay.
It's tough with sports that are so independent because it's just like everything is on you all the time. So it's pretty high pressure. And I'm not very chill with golf, so I think I would probably have a hard time.
You're like, we're not even going to put that through.
I would probably get a little intense.
That's like me with soccer.
Yeah.
Because Ike's like, you can become a soccer coach. I was like, I will never coach our children. There's no way.
No, I would be.
I think they're going to be a little afraid of me by the end of it.
I would not be proud of the person I would be.
I think they're going to have a lot of perfection issues and everything else, and I don't need that in my child.
Exactly. Like, I'd love to end the line with me with that one, so if we could like, raise them in anything else.
Tennis, basketball, pickleball, anything else that I don't know anything.
Yeah, get him a coach that's going to be, like, very kind.
Yes.
It's not going to be me. Yeah.
Ike's like T-ball, and I was like, as long as you're kind to them.
Yeah.
That's all I care about, because I don't know anything about that world, so I'll just sit on the sidelines. But he played baseball through high school, so he's like, they're going to play. And I was like, teach their own.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Ike, like, doesn't get upset on the golf course, though, so it's like, very impressive.
His goal is to shoot in the 80s. We have a bingo card for 2026, and that is on his bingo card is to shoot in the 80s.
I think he can do it.
He said yesterday that he couldn't with Jerry.
Yeah.
I went golfing with him and Jerry once. I don't think I would ever do it again.
Yeah, it's definitely like... Yeah, playing golf as a girl definitely puts you into a different world where you're like, oh, okay, this is what guys do. And
yes.
Like, this is their idea of fun and a little different.
Yes, to me, this is like life or death. To you, this is just hanging out with the boys.
Yeah, it's so different. So different.
But on this podcast, I kind of just love telling people's testimonies and how God's kind of gotten them where they are in their life now. And so can you kind of tell me how you grew up? Did you grow up in the church? What did that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, I was not raised in the church. Both my parents are Catholic, and my mom grew up going to Catholic school her whole life. And then when she met my dad, they always had a relationship with God, and they raised me to believe in God and love God, but we didn't necessarily go to church. And then when I was in high school, I moved around a lot as a kid. I was born in Colorado, moved to Georgia, and then Texas, and then back to Florida. And so when I was in high school in Florida, my friend invited me to youth group, and it was really like the music that's kind of always what's drawn me to God, and a way that I've been able to communicate with God the most is through music. And so it was like during worship, I was just like, wow, like this is real, and like this is so cool. And so I started going to that church, and then gave my life to Him, got baptized in 2020 on the beach, which was really cool.
That's cool.
It was cool, but it was a pretty like crazy day. It was very windy, and so the waves were pretty big. So when I went up there, I got swept away. Like a huge wave came before I got baptized, and I like washed up ashore like a fish flopping, and like everybody from my high school was there, and I'm like, hi. And I had to walk back up. And they were like, man, the Holy Spirit wanted to do it. And I was like, yeah. And then, so then I got baptized again, but it was beautiful.
I have sand everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it was really cool on the beach. And then, and then I found a church that I really, really liked after that. It was a United Methodist church, and all my friends went there, and I met this just amazing community of high schoolers. And like, it's very rare to find a group in high school of just really good people, and people who, you know, like don't want to go party every single night, which was just like so nice to have. And a lot of them were athletes too, which was cool. And then I was listening to worship one time, and I was like, I wonder if they would let me up there, like. And so I talked to the worship leader, auditioned, broke a guitar string the first song, which is just like perfect. So I had to play his guitar, and he was like, yeah, would love to have you. And so then I started singing worship every Sunday, which was just like my favorite thing in the world. 2020 COVID hit, senior year of high school, so things looked a little bit different, but because I was on the worship team, I was able to still go to church like 3 times a week, which was just so nice to have during that time. And then went off to school, went to Daytona State, played college golf there, and then transferred to Belmont, and now I'm here.
That's a crazy. Yeah. Do you think music, because I've had a lot of people on this that said the music is what drew them in, but a lot of them are musicians now. Do you think that's kind of where you fell in love with music and wanted to pursue that, was to fall in love with worship music and God?
Yeah, because I was so dead set on golf that I hadn't even really thought about pursuing music seriously. I had always sang since I was a little kid and learned how to play guitar, was writing songs from like 10 on, but I just, in my head, I was going to go to play golf in college and go pro after that. And leading worship, I feel like it showed me, one, it was, okay, I'm good enough at this that somebody will like have me on a worship team that isn't my parents. Like my whole life I was just like, my parents would say like, oh, you're a good singer, and I'm like, that, like literally I can do anything, and you guys are gonna be like, oh, you're so good at it. And so it definitely shifted my perspective there, but it was also just like the feeling. I feel like it was so divine, and singing has always been like, there were just moments where I was like, I'm not talented enough to do this, and like there's something at a higher work here that isn't me. And I especially feel that with songwriting. But yeah, it was a big turn for me. And I wrote a song while I was there. I think my freshman year of college. I was interned as a worship leader for the summer, which was really, really fun. That's cool. And we were doing a sermon series called I Believe for Advent. And they were like, oh, I wish we had a song for this. And I was like, well, like, okay. So then I just went home and I wrote it, and it was like so fast. And I can always tell when God is involved in my songwriting and when he's not. And that was one moment where I was just like, there's no way I could have done this myself. Like with like how like easily it came out. And I feel like creativity is like that. And they ended up releasing it as a church, and I recorded vocals in my dorm when I got to Belmont from Nashville. And yeah, it was released, and they still sing it there. And like, that's just so cool to me. And it just showed me that like how powerful songwriting can be. And yeah, it was a very cool experience.
That's a really cool experience. Yeah. I think it's so cool to see, like you kind of touched on creativity, and I always talk about that with Ike is when I know God's working through it, because it's just like a video. He just will sit and he'll start filming a video, and I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, can't tell you yet. And I was like, okay, I won't ask questions, but then it comes out and I'm just like, okay, that has to be God. And I am not a creative person at all. That has never been songwriting, art, video, nothing, even though I was a journalism major. But I think it's so cool how God uses so many different talents for different people.
Yeah.
And songwriting is one of those for you. Were your parents ever scared about you pursuing that full time after not finishing golfing at Belmont, or was that something that they were just supportive of and knew that's what you wanted to do?
I think they figured it out. I majored in music production at Daytona, and so we would have like ensemble performances every few weeks, and they kind of saw me on stage and were like, oh, okay, like this is what she's gonna do. And I'm the type of person that when I decide I'm gonna do something, there's not really anything anybody can say, and they know that. And so they were super supportive of it. They've always just had the mindset of like, you got to do something. So as long as you know what you're gonna do, and they just wanted me to finish golf, which I wanted to too. Mm-hmm. I was not ready to be done when I was done, but in the same sense, like I knew it was time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been super supportive since, and they were kind of just like, all right, if you're gonna do this, like you're gonna do it, and let us know if you need anything, but you're capable and you can figure it out. So yeah.
Do you feel like with golf, God led you to Nashville and Belmont to pursue songwriting? Was that kind of like a full circle moment for you?
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy. So when I was at Daytona, I majored in music production, and there was a program there called Mike Curb, which is the same program that I was in at Belmont. It's just the same name. It's Mike Curb, like I guess ran both of them, or started both studios. And I met this group of people while I was at Daytona that I would never have gone to Daytona State if I didn't play golf. It was just like not, they had an amazing golf program. It was a D1 level program, and we competed against really cool schools, but like I got into schools in Florida that I just like, I would not have gone if I didn't play golf. I would have probably gone to UF. And I met this core group of people, and that's where I like kind of sang a song that I wrote for the first time before that worship song ever came out. And people were like super supportive of it, and we started hanging out a bunch, writing together, and they were kind of just the first people to really encourage me to release my music. And I got recruited for Belmont. My mom had been telling me to look at Belmont since I was in high school.
No way.
And I was just like so stubborn. I didn't want to listen to her. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go to Belmont. Like, it's such a small school, like, whatever. And at the time, I think I emailed the coach once, and they didn't allow music majors, which I wasn't a music major technically, but she, like, wasn't really listening to that. And they got a new coach by the time I was getting recruited from Daytona, because it was a 2-year program I was in. And so the new coach was like, yeah, I don't know what she was talking about. Like, we'd love to have you. So I transferred over, and then one by one, my friends from Daytona started to move up.
That's cool.
For, like, various reasons. But they all ended up living in a house together, and everybody was there. And then at Belmont, obviously, I started meeting people in music, and I was able to meet, like, my core friends in the golf team and learn a lot about myself, too, through the process of playing competitive sports. I feel like that's one of the best ways to learn discipline and commitment. And then by the time I got to my senior year, I ended up releasing a song that I wrote with the guy that I wrote it with at Daytona, who became my producer for my first 2 releases, which is just crazy. And they're still in my band now.
This is such a crazy cool.
It's so cool. And the people that I played in my ensemble shows with, like, are still, like, my bassist and drummer. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's really crazy. And then when I graduated there, I was like, all right, I got to figure it out. So I had worked at Starbucks in high school. So I was like, all right, I just got to get a job as a barista. And I saw this job opening for Red Bicycle. I lived in Germantown at the time, and there was one in Germantown. But the one that I ended up interviewing with was, like, pretty far away. It was in, like, almost in Antioch.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But like for some reason I was just like, all right, like makes sense. Like I'll take it. So I would drive like 25 minutes every day, which like just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then I met my friend Grace and she interviewed there. I ended up becoming a manager. I'm like just not the type of person who can do anything in like a chill way. So I was managing 2 stores at this time. And so I like interviewed her, hired her, and trained her. And we ended up becoming like best friends. She went to Belmont and introduced me to my friends Alex and Jan, who I wrote my next 3 releases with, who went to Belmont, and Alex still plays guitar for me. And it was just one of those things where I was like, this is so, and she lived in Germantown at the time too. And I was just like, there's no reason either of us should have gotten this job and driven this far every day when there are so many coffee shops in Nashville. Like anywhere else we could have worked. And she went to Belmont too, and I just like didn't know her at Belmont. I didn't know any of those people at Belmont.
Wow.
And then one of my other friends, Abigail, I met at the same coffee shop, and she had gone to Lee, or not Lee. Lee? Yeah, she went to Lee, and she introduced me to TikTok and live streaming, and that's my full-time job now. And we like write together. She's so talented, and we're both like on a pretty similar path right now, and she became one of my really, really good friends.
That's a crazy God story. Like there's no other way of putting that other than God intricately putting every person in your life. And I think that's really cool for anyone that's listening, that even if you are working at a coffee shop, even if you're working at McDonald's, even if you're working somewhere that you don't feel like this doesn't make sense, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
God is still using that in your story. I think 100%. That's a really cool. If you could tell anyone, I asked some of the other artists who've come on, someone's coming to you and wants to start songwriting and even just performing, what would you tell them?
That's a good question. I would say trust yourself more than you think you should. I think especially with social media now, it's really easy to get caught up in like what people want from you and what people are looking for with songwriting, like what's going to go viral on TikTok, what are people going to like? But if you have that on your heart, you just have to create what's on your heart. And so you kind of have to put blinders on and shut everything out. And a lot of the times, like, songs that I didn't think that were going to be successful were some of my most successful, because I just, like, shut it out and wrote what I thought I needed to write. And also just you can practice helps so much. And when I started playing, like, I like really was not good. Like I'm lucky that I had people around me that were encouraging me, because when I look back at some old videos of me, I'm just like, geez, you guys are nice. Like it was, like in high school, it's just like everybody was so encouraging to me, and I'm just like, guys, like if I would have walked up on a national stage in high school, they would have been like, what are we doing here? Like so it is like you can improve, and if you have that dream on your heart, there's probably a reason for it. And so you just have to keep pushing, record yourself, be like, don't be hard on yourself, but be honest with yourself and just keep pushing.
Do you think golf helped you with that as an individual sport?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. Even when I was like 9 years old, I would just practice until my hands were like bleeding. Like I've always kind of had that attitude, and having the goal of college sports really helped with that, because it was just, there's no easy way to get there.
Yeah.
And once you're there, you're surrounded by other people that have that same exact attitude. And it's just, you're able to, iron sharpens iron, and you're able to push each other so hard. And it definitely instilled a discipline that I'm really grateful for. And it's, you wouldn't think that things in golf apply to things in music, but especially with both things being so independent, it really does help. And golf taught me that things are going to be very hard sometimes, and you're not always going to be, you're going to be on some losing streaks for a long time, but you just have to keep going and keep pushing.
What do you feel like, if you can share what God's kind of doing in your life right now?
Yeah. I think, well, the biggest thing I think is just connecting me with all these amazing people, and those friends that I mentioned now, like I go to church with them, and they brought me to a church that I love. And that's like every time I start to have any doubts, I like look around at the ties in my life, and I'm just like, wow, like this is so cool. And I feel like right now I'm in a bit of a reset of just trying to figure out what I want to do musically, what kind of like genre I want to go into. I think like writing the songs to me is easier than putting them out because like when I write them, I know what I want to say, and then it's, you know, like the production process is always, it just adds complexities. And so I'm just trying to figure out like what God wants me to write, what he wants me to put out. And I've talked a lot about this with some of my friends that do worship music. It's hard to find the line of like being a believer and writing secular music, and like how can I write music that still helps people even if it's not worship music. Because I had thought for a while that I wanted to be a worship leader, and I do love leading worship. Like I absolutely love it. I still do it, but it's just I feel like there's songs on my heart and things that I need to say that I can't necessarily say in worship music, and I feel like it does put you in a box, and I don't necessarily want to be in that box. So I'm just trying to find a way to write songs that still help people and still can lead people to God through writing about my experiences or other people's experiences. And I feel like I found that in, if you have something on your heart that you've struggled with, somebody else probably has too.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be helpful just to write about that, and it can help people to kind of find themselves in your music. And I know that's true. Like, I'm a huge Noah Kahan fan, and he has so many songs that they're not worship songs, but like when I listen to him, I'm like, wow, like God is telling me something through this song.
Yeah. I think that's a really good reminder because Ike's very much the same way. Mm-hmm. He's very much like understanding this isn't a worship song, but it has God in it, and it's understanding. To me, I don't understand music. I kind of let him kind of take the lead in that. I just go and hang out and sell merch. But for him, it's such like an escape. Mm-hmm. And for you, it's just very much an escape. I was going to ask if you were ever interested in writing worship music. Would you ever do worship at your church? Would you ever lead worship there? Or was that something that you're kind of just okay, just attending at that point?
Yeah, at the church I'm at now, I don't think so. I like really attending it, but I have led worship at a few other churches recently, and I just love to do it.
That's cool.
It's one of those things that, like, if it becomes a job for me, it's harder, because once anything becomes a job, it's just you look at it completely differently. But I absolutely love it, and I still do it. Like, I go live on TikTok a lot, and I'll do like worship nights where I just sing worship songs, and that's one of my favorite things. Yeah.
How do you feel like God's using you in Nashville right now in that community and kind of figuring out where you're supposed to go with music?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting too, and I think about this with you and Ike, like being in bars so much, it's just very interesting. But I've talked to my friends about this, and it's kind of cool being around people that don't know Jesus because you can be their like first example of that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that can be true, and a lot of like my main goal is just to be like very kind to everybody around me and be as much like Jesus as I can, which I fall short of like obviously all the time. But that's
I feel that
star. And so that's kind of like going into every room and just being like, how can I be the kindest person to these people, and how can I form relationships and like love on the people around me. And outside of Nashville, like I mentioned TikTok Live, I go live like almost every day, and I've found a community on there that's just, it's really cool. Like I never expected people to care about what I'm doing this much. Yeah. And again, it's like outside of my parents, like having people listen to my music is just always like shocking. Like every single time. You like it? Yeah, I'm like, what? And so that's been really cool because people have like kind of found a community in it, and like there's a Discord chat that they'll text in like every day, and it's really cool that they're able to make friendships with each other like while I'm going live. And I'm signed to technically this like agency on live, and it's a Christian agency, a Christian-based agency. It's Noah Schnacky. I don't know if you know him.
I've heard that name before though.
He runs it, and so it's really cool because there's just a bunch of Christian creators. Like, not all of them are Christian, and it's not a fully Christian agency, but it's Christian led. And like, they had this event. It was like an in-person live competition, and I got to meet all of these people from all over the country, and that are also creators. A lot of them do music too, and so it's just been really cool to connect with all these different people and like build communities. Yeah,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone has a story, and that's like, for me, I've loved telling people stories, because like for you, hearing music and like relating to that, where I feel like if people listen, then they also can relate to a story and not feel alone, because I think the devil loves to isolate us at the end of the day. And so if you can find like-minded people who are going through the same thing or understanding where you're coming from, I think God tells us to do it in community.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell us to do it alone. So if we can kind of move in with friends or with people that we don't know but can feed off of each other, I think that's really cool.
100%.
With like TikTok and with everything, what is that like? Because you see it online and you see people. How did you even get into that? Like, what is that even like?
Yeah, so I had always like posted like videos of me singing since high school. It was ever so often, and obviously I was just like, all right, one of these is gonna blow up. No, like none of them. I even posted YouTube. I think these are maybe still out. I posted YouTube videos of me singing from like 10 on. I don't know. I might need to take them down. Like, it's like some of them are really bad. But I was just like, all right, this is how I'm gonna blow up. Like, no. But I was working at the coffee shop, and my friend Abigail was like, I don't know, my friend approached me about this TikTok thing with this agency and like going live, and like, I don't know, I'm gonna try it. And I was like, all right, like, that's like, all right, good luck. And she started doing it, and she was like, wait, this is like working, and like I'm making income off of it and building like this fan base. And I was like, all right. I still was like, this is, and then she was like, you want to do it? And I was like, okay, like, I'll do it. Because in my head, I was just like, I like don't want to be a streamer. Like, that's like
I've already tried this.
Can't do it. And so I tried it, and it took like a week for me to start seeing that it was like paying off with like repeat people being in there and stuff. And then I think it was like 3 months where I was like, okay, I could do this full time if I wanted to, but I was still working at the coffee shop, and so I was live streaming until like 1 a.m. and then opening. And because I lived like 30 minutes away, I would just have to leave the house at like 6 o'clock, and so I just like wasn't sleeping. And then it got to a point where I called my mom from the bathroom of work, because I was also at this point like managing fully, and so I was like in charge of everything. I called my mom from the bathroom, and I was like, I cannot do this another day. And she was like, what? And I was like, no, like, I'm quitting. And she had been trying to convince me to just like stick with it, because to my parents to be like, I'm gonna be doing TikTok full time, they're like, okay, sorry, like, no, you're not. And I was just like, no, I'm done. Like, if I have one more customer talk to me like this, like, I'm gonna walk out right now. So I put in my 2 weeks, and my bosses were like great about it. I loved them, and like I really did love working at the coffee shop. I like managing people, and like I learned a lot about business from it too, which was good. But yeah, I was done, and so that was in the summer, and then just started doing TikTok full time. And it's really interesting to have like so much of my life online, but it's been really cool. And I post like a few times a day, and then I go live for like 2-3 hours every night. And it's kicked up to where like there's a good amount of people in there, and it's crazy because like the first time I went live there was like 10 people in the chat, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be
what am I doing?
Yeah, I was like, this is a humiliation ritual actually. And now like I had like 1,500 people in there last night, and that is crazy to me, because then I was playing a lot of gigs at this time too, and I would go to a gig at a restaurant, like nobody gives a crap that I'm there. And I was just like, this is crazy to me that there's like hundreds of people, like that an hour after this gig, at this empty bar, I'm going to be online with hundreds of people listening to me sing. And like, I cannot picture that amount of people in a room, because I'm singing to an empty room right now. And so it's definitely a weird thing, because like I'm singing to my phone, and like somehow there's that many people there.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, it's been a weird journey.
Has anyone ever showed up? to your
Yeah, there
gigs?
was one time that this girl like came up and gave me a hug, and she was like, I know you from TikTok, and like I was in Nashville and I was hoping I would run into you somehow, but like I didn't know where you were playing. And she was walking down Broadway, saw my name on the screen, and then walked in and sat for like an hour while I played.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
and that was when I was like, oh, okay,
This
is
yeah.
cool. And my parents were actually at that gig. They were in town. And so they were like, oh, okay.
Like she's actually doing this.
Like, this is crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it will pick up more with people watching you online and then kind of coming to see you?
Yeah, that's the goal. I think like a lot, since I think I am going to have to go on some sort of tour at some point because people live so far away, but that's the goal, is like to build enough of a fan base where it makes sense to play out and I can like start filling up rooms from it.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool, just like also God's story of, I'm gonna take you a different route, you just have to trust me in this, but then it pays off in the end. And I think that's just really cool, because I've met a lot of other artists that are just like, no, I'm gonna do it the old school way, you're just gonna sign this deal and you're gonna do that. But even when we have conversations, he's like, it's so different. You have to have social media behind you, because without social media nowadays, no one's really going to know who you are, and they want to cling to a personality in someone and then like your music plus that. So do you think going live and showing who you are and your personality has really helped with that then?
Yeah, I like didn't necessarily expect that, because again, like my goal wasn't to become like a personality, like, but like I've always just been very much myself in situations, and I'm almost to a fault where it's like I don't really like, I'm not good at the whole small talk thing, and it's like I'm just gonna be like cracking jokes that people are not gonna get most of the time. So but yeah, I definitely got more comfortable with it, and I think because you're behind a screen, it's a lot easier to just like, I'm alone in my room, like I can talk as myself, and like since I've gotten like so much more comfortable with the people on there, it like feels like I'm just talking to my friends. And yeah, they just created a fan page and put like this edit together of just like random stuff I've said. And I'm just like, I can't believe I've said something, like, and it's just like, but it's so cool that people can like appreciate my personality, that like, I mean, like, I didn't make a lot of friends in high school, and like it was always like I didn't always fit in, and so it's just like so cool to find people that like I feel like they get me, and like I get them, and like I get to talk to them so much. Like, I mean, they're there for like hours every night, and so it's been really cool.
So cool.
It's been really, really cool.
Where would you want to go on tour? Where's like one place that you would want?
I really want to go to the Northeast.
Okay.
Because I've never been north of Virginia. I did like some college tours up to Virginia, but I've never been to New York. I've never been to Vermont, and so yeah, and I know like I have a few people that I know support me from those areas, and so I think that'd be so cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it'd just be really cool to like get to meet people who have been supporting me for so long, because you know, like you see them behind a screen, but like it would just be really, really cool.
And just like connect in person for once.
Yeah.
For my last question, if someone came to you or on a live stream and was just like, I'm struggling, can you tell me about the Lord, or how do you kind of continue on moving forward with struggles, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would tell them, like, first and foremost, like, God is a God of love, and I think in the world, like, it's so, you have to listen to God and not to the necessarily the people that talk about God, because sometimes there's not always going to be a reflection of that God is love. And especially like not being raised in the church, I know like there was a lot of judgment from people when I was growing up, and people can get stuck in that and think that God is not loving and doesn't like God is not for them. And like God does love you, and God loves everybody, and before you were born he loved you. And so I think that's what I want people to know, is God is with you all of the time. You just have to open yourself up to him, and Jesus died for every single person, not a person who's deemed like a good person. Like you don't have to be like, we're all sinners, and God loves sinners, and Jesus died for all sinners, not just one. Like, and so I think I just want to make that clear to everybody, is that like you have a place with God.
No matter what you've been through.
No matter what. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's really powerful. Because I've met people who are like, it's just not for me. Like, I've messed up so many times. I'm like, you don't think I've messed up?
Yeah.
Like, I may look great on the outside, but I don't think you've seen me the last 3 years on the inside. So I wanted to start this podcast to show everyone that we're not perfect. We're human. Yeah. And humans are not perfect. And I'm perfectionism. I love it. I love being perfect. I know that's not possible. But I think it's just really cool to just hear people's stories through music, through podcasts, through anything, that God has used them in so many different ways of life. Because Ike always has to remind me that I'm a hand and he's a foot, that we're all different body parts of Christ. Cool. Because at the end of the day, I can't do what you can do, but we can work together for Jesus at the end of the day. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
So anyone who's listening, you can be a hand or a foot or a nose in the body of Christ Jesus. But thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.